organized labor, the aspect of labor relations, and what is the outcome we have here in the United States. We've seen some pretty shocking things when it comes down to it. If you look on the aspect of what is happening in today's world, you have really Amazon is out there, and they have different elections happening across the country. Different warehouses are being petitioned to have a vote to unionize as you go through. Even Starbucks, talk about a company that's always in hot water, so to speak, in the process. I know. Old jokes, puns, and everything else. With coffee, it comes to coffee jokes ends up being has-beens as you go through. Anyway, that being said, several different Starbucks are unionizing in the process. So we're seeing, is there a giant resurgence among unions as you go through? Is it because there's a tight labor market right now as you go through the process? Let's look at some of the data. Union membership, 2021, there really was 10.3%. Not a lot. Private sector is even much worse, 6.1%. Public sector is gigantic and 33.9%, almost 34%. At the end of the day, though, what you're saying is that 89.7% of US workers are not part of a union. That's almost 90%. 9 out of 10 people in the United States that are employed actively are not part of a union. That speaks volumes all by itself, what the American people themselves think of today's unions as you go through. Here's a chart. You can see that constant decline going back from really almost 25% down to where we are today. They've lost half of their membership, actually more than that as you go through. Huge differences as you go through. And we've seen changes in the world, especially in the workplace as to how we deal with it. Public sector unions, they have a lot of growth in their process. And really, it's kind of strange. Here you have this big growth in one area, but they can't have a strike over here at all. Kind of a strange thing. Strikes, that's when things aren't going well, you disagree at the bargaining table, so you walk out if you're the workers and you put picket signs up and you say unfair because of the following as you go through. Now strikes really are the exception as you go through, and really unions, when they negotiate, they're looking at 3 things: wages, hours, and working conditions as you go through, especially those benefits. They love the benefits. You can't blame them. Benefits can be 40% of the total cost of an employee, and having big benefits on a regular basis can really handle an awful lot of things, from prescriptions to different types of medical insurance, eye care, dental care, and so on. Those are big items, and unions always fight for them as you go through on behalf of their employees as you go through. A lot of times, unions, they base promotions on seniority. The longer they are, obviously, you're better. Well, maybe not, but at least you're more senior as you go through the process. And generally, unions, they have a lower job satisfaction on average, which is kind of strange because they're some of the highest paid, best benefit employees that are out there as you go through. But keep in mind, part of a union is to make certain they're always valued. And if the people they're representing are not happy with those people in management, they have something to do to earn their interest as you go through. Productivity, unions help and they hurt at the same time. They help sometimes encourage people to do better in their work. They hurt sometimes because they also support the employee who is not carrying their load compared to other people, and management wants them to do better, and union represents them as you go through the process. So that's either way, they help and they hurt at the same time. Generally, a union worker is more productive than a non-union worker because they have a contract to follow it, and the supervisor can follow that and follow a process as you go through. Really, if you look on the big picture of unions, we have more union members because of our physical size than most countries, but we have the lowest unionization rate almost of all the developed nations as you go through. There's no strong history of the unions fighting for a certain class representation because the US generally doesn't have a lot of real honest separation between classes of citizens as you go through. So, but no matter what happens, union workers cost more money, and productivity and cost really are challenges. And sometimes management moves jobs out of our country into lower wage countries as you go through. Here's an example of union membership. US 10.3%, Japan 16.8%, European Union, look at that number, 21.7%, and then look at the percentage covered by employment of those 60% by the time it's all done. Huge, gigantic numbers as you go to European Union as you go through. You see the numbers here, and you can see really that the US for developed nations doesn't have a huge percentage of union workers, and we don't even pursue it in regards to that. So by the time we're done, 89.7% of Americans are non-union. Union membership has been declining for decades. Unions, there's good and bad to them as you go through. And really, historically, a lot of our labor laws and employee protections come from union activity. If you look on some of the different things, the aspect of a 40-hour work week is a union concept as you go through. Time and a half is a union concept. No more child labor in factories is a union concept that they've fought sometimes really with bottles, rocks, and who knows what else in the process, but they defended the American worker as you go through on multiple different fronts, brought a lot of workers' comp issues forward. They really have done a lot to support us. And now, but sometimes it's a matter of what have you done for me lately, which could be why they have the decline as you go through. We'll talk more about the whole aspect of how they protect the workers today and the benefits they bring in just a little bit. Take care.